Oh, hey. Well, hold on a moment. Today we're going to talk about needing to sell your current home to buy the home you want. All right, so first of all, can you do it? Answer is yes. It's done all the time. If it's the first time having a home that you got to sell in order to buy another home, you might wonder kind of how the mechanics of that work. There's a few different ways to go about it. You can just go find the home you want and then scramble and get your home on the market, but you'd have to have certain paperwork in that offer that says you're contingent on selling your home if indeed you do need to close that home before you buy. Or you can put your home on the market and then go look for a property and submit an offer contingent on you getting it sold. Or you can get your home on the market and get it under contract and then hustle and go find the home you want and write an offer on that and just say it's contingent on you getting that closed. Anyways, so those are some of the ways that can go. And we like to call it like a near simultaneous closing. So we used to call it simultaneous closings. That's not really practical or possible. They have to close your current house. You got to know the money is in escrow, and then that money gets escrowed to the new deal, because a lot of times you're taking equity and putting in a 20% down payment for the new house. And so then you want to know that one closed, and now you got the money for the new one. And so but you can do it in the same day, or one day apart from each other. So it's a pretty great process, actually. It's great that we can do that. It makes a lot more transactions possible. But there are other options. We can talk about that some other day, rather than selling your house first and stuff like that. But yeah, so it is possible, but things can go wrong, right? So what can go wrong? Well, there's 4 things that I jotted down real quick this morning, that most common things that I've seen. Now, it's important to note that most properties just close and it works fine. And sometimes problems come up. Sometimes those problems can be solved. So it helps to have an experienced agent to, help, deal with challenges that come up. But one of the things that can happen is that your buyer, at any point in the transaction, could get cold feet. If it's towards the end of the transaction, that would be pretty painful, wouldn't it? So are there things that can be done to mitigate that or reduce that possibility? Oh yeah, absolutely. And what I'd like to say at this point is real estate goes by what's on paper legally, correct? But the information that's not on paper is also vitally important. That can make all the difference in terms of which offer you should accept. So again, that's where it helps to have a very experienced agent guiding you, because they know what kinds of things, what questions to ask, what to look out for, how to advise you, how to make sure that, if at all possible, that the deal you're accepting is really the deal that's going to go through. Okay? So what's another thing that can go wrong? Well, the buyer's financing could fall apart. Could happen. Does happen. But there's 3 levels of financing approval. Which one is your buyer? That's very important. So it's important, again, to have a listing agent that's representing you that knows what they've got. I personally like to actually call the lender and ask some questions too. I also like to talk to the buyer's agent, ask some questions there too. Sometimes not just about the lending, but other stuff. Right? What's a third thing that could go wrong? Well, the inspection could go haywire. Well, you could have an inspector. The buyer has a choice to hire what inspector they want, right? So what if they hire a pretty new inspector that just doesn't have much experience, doesn't know what they're doing, or they're not very good at handling customers, or they are not very good about explaining what the problem is with the house and what the solutions are. There's, early on in my career, there were some inspectors that freaked out the buyers over something that was very solvable. There's very little that can't be solved in a house. Now, basement issues, they can be solved too, but that's getting into big money. So that's important to kind of head off at the pass. But so if they bail out on the inspection contingency, they're getting their earnest money back. There's nothing you can do about that. The only good side is that it happens early on in the transaction, usually within the first 10 days. Okay? So is there anything you can do about potentially heading that off the pass? Yeah, there is. We could talk about that some other time. Now, what's another overlooked risk? Well, sometimes in a market like we've got today, where it's a seller's market, very decidedly. And by the way, if you're selling a house that's under $200,000 and moving up to 250 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or $1 million, you're in good shape because interest rates are so low that cost of money is cheap and there's so many buyers out there and very few listings. But there are more listings per the number of buyers as you go higher in price. So you're selling into a very hot market, buying into maybe a hot market, but not as hot market. So your money goes further. Okay. So one of the things that we've seen in markets like this in the past is maybe one spouse is not available to see the house, and then, but they are desperately want a house. So they make a crazy good offer, and the seller looks at everything that's on the paper and looks at that number and says, wow, I'm going to net out really good on this. Let's take that one. Well, maybe not so fast. Since both spouses haven't seen it, there's a risk that when that other spouse actually does get to see it during the inspection period, I might add, that spouse might say, don't like it. So that could just destroy the deal right there. So is there something can be done about that? Well, yeah, that's probably kind of obvious. So sometimes it's not the offer that's on paper. It's what you find out outside of the offer through communicating with the lender and or the agent. So there's some really good questions to ask. There's some good ways to ask those questions. And if you'd like to have a realtor that can represent your interests when you're buying and selling and can help you in those kinds of situations and matters, then let's talk. And I'm at 440-420-1342. Have a great day. By the way, I do free buyer and seller consultations every day. So just text me or call me anytime. Take care.